Dad, Mom, this is Emma, the woman I want to marry. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm eager to get to know you all better. As I introduced Emma, I could feel my nerves getting the best of me. I'm not naturally expressive, and when I'm anxious, my words seem to escape me even more. My mother-in-law greeted Emma with a warm smile. "What a shy young lady," she commented. Her words offered a small comfort, though I was unaware of the hidden complexities within their family. My name is Emma, and this summer marks the first one Tom and I will share as a married couple. With our busy work schedules, our main breaks come during Thanksgiving and New Year's. Since Thanksgiving arrived just 3 months after our wedding, we decided to visit both our families who live out of state. Despite our best efforts, we didn't get much of a chance to relax during the holiday. We had planned to enjoy a relaxing New Year's, just the two of us. So, I was taken aback when Tom handed me a brochure for a hot spring resort a month ago. "Let's go here for New Year's," he said, as if it would be a special getaway for us alone. I was thrilled. Hot springs sounded perfect, and it had been a long time since we had a private trip together. "Did you make the reservation?" I asked eagerly. But my excitement quickly faded. "This place is run by a relative," Tom explained. "My parents are going, and they've already booked the reservation for us. They thought it would be nice if we joined them." "What do you mean?" "So it's going to be a trip with my parents and us. Just the four of us?" I asked, trying to process the change in plans. "We're picking you up in the morning, so please be ready," Tom replied. The idea of spending the trip with my in-laws was a bit overwhelming, but as a newlywed, I didn't feel it was my place to voice any complaints, so I reluctantly accepted the situation. Then, just a week before the trip, as I was packing, Tom came home from work. "You're right on time," he said. "We're actually leaving tomorrow, so hurry up and finish packing." "Wait, isn't the trip next week?" I wondered. Maybe Tom had mixed up the dates, but that wasn't the case. "My brother and his wife are arriving at our parents' place tomorrow," Tom explained. "Since it's the holidays and we haven't seen my brother in a while, we decided to join them." "What?" I was stunned by the sudden change of plans. I wanted to refuse staying at my in-laws' home, but my inability to say no left me with no choice but to go along with Tom. To be honest, my relationship with my in-laws had always been strained. During our engagement visit, my mother-in-law's comment about me being a reserved young lady masked a more negative sentiment. She had described me as gloomy to Tom in the kitchen, unaware that I could hear. When we visited for New Year's greetings, my father-in-law, Bill, was equally harsh. "As a daughter-in-law, you should come earlier and help out around the house," he scolded. I could only apologize, and since then, the constant pressure from my in-laws to have children had taken a significant toll on me. The thought of traveling with them was daunting, but staying at their house felt unbearable. Still, there was no turning back, and before I knew it, we had arrived at Tom's parents' house. As we opened the front door, my mother-in-law hurried over. "You're late, Emma. Come help out in the kitchen," she said, ushering me inside. The kitchen was overflowing with ingredients. "Please handle the dinner preparations," she instructed, then went off to the living room. Standing there in a daze, I heard the sound of a car pulling up outside. It appeared my brother-in-law and his wife had arrived. Meanwhile, my father-in-law hurried out of the living room to assist with their luggage. I couldn't help but wonder why he hadn't offered to help me. Just then, my brother-in-law's wife, Emily, walked in. Emily, who is about 5 years younger than me, has a completely different personality. It's clear that my father-in-law is particularly fond of her. My mother-in-law also fawned over Emily. "It's like a dream come true to have a grandchild on the way," she said. I knew Emily was pregnant, which explained the extra attention, but the stark contrast in how we were treated left me feeling resentful. Even Tom was lavishing attention on Emily. "Emma, could you get Emily a drink, please?" "Emma, how's dinner coming along? Could you at least prepare some appetizers first?" It was one thing for my mother-in-law to delegate tasks to me, but seeing Tom join in felt especially disheartening. The following days fell into a relentless routine, leaving me in tears alone in my bed. On the morning we were set to leave for our trip, I was asked to deliver something to a neighbor's house. Despite the rush, it was only a short walk away, so I complied. I returned about 15 minutes later, but something felt off. The front door was locked, and the car was gone. I realized I had been deceived. Just then, my husband called. Emily said she's feeling well, so we decided to bring her along. "Emma, please stay behind this time." I had been told that Emily and her husband wouldn't be going on the trip due to her pregnancy, so I was surprised to learn they decided to take her after all. I couldn't tell if this was a last-minute change or if it had been planned from the start. It felt as though they were trying to push me out. In that moment, something inside me snapped, and I found myself smiling more than I ever thought I could. Is that so? Have a safe trip, I said, my tone surprisingly cheerful. Tom sounded taken aback on the phone, probably expecting me to cry or beg him to stay. We'll cover the lodging costs, so I'll use the usual credit card, he added. I kept my smile in place as I replied, bonded. Okay, got it. What's next? Since I had my valuables with me when I left, I could manage to get back on my own, but the thought of just returning was frustrating. While I stood at the front door, trying to figure out my next move, I heard a voice call out from behind me. Aren't you the wife from this house? It was Lily from the neighborhood, known for her chatty nature. She had struck up a conversation with me on my first day here while I was working in the yard, and I had listened to her monologue for quite a while. At that moment, I felt a surge of emotion and tearfully explained to Lily how I'd been left behind for the trip and had been working non-stop since arriving. I never expected to be left behind for the trip, and I didn't think I'd end up working so much without any help, I said, trying to sound as genuine as possible. Lily listened with heartfelt concern. That sounds really tough. I can't understand what they find so off-putting about you. I poured out everything that had happened, feeling the weight of my emotions. I don't even have a car to get back home, I added, tears welling up in my eyes. Lily, seeing my distress, offered to let me stay with her if I needed a place. I hesitated for a moment but ultimately decided to accept her kind offer and went inside her house. Lily's husband and son greeted me with surprise as I arrived. Lily quickly filled them in on the situation. That's awful. Please make yourself at home and relax here, they offered warmly. Once I settled into the guest room, immediately dialed a number I had in mind, the credit card company. Although Tom had never had a credit card before our marriage, he began using my family card after we got married. I suspected he would use it to cover the trip expenses. Tom is all about appearances. I canceled the card and turned off my cell phone while I stayed at Lily's. They took excellent care of me, insisting that I relax and not lift a finger. I knew I would need to find a way to thank them properly in the future. Lily loves chatting with everyone in the neighborhood and often engages in lengthy conversations with anyone who visits her front door. My situation seemed to spread quickly around the area. I couldn't help but wonder why Tom found such a genuinely kind person like Lily to be so unappealing. During dinner that evening, Lily let out a sigh and began sharing details about Tom's past. You know, he's always had a bit of a wandering eye and has been involved in some questionable behavior. That's when I learned a startling truth about Tom's previous engagement. According to Lily, Tom had been on the verge of marrying someone else, but she had mysteriously vanished. Hearing about his poor history with women for the first time gave me an unsettling feeling. I resolved to gather as much information as I could while I was staying there. Although I initially considered waiting for Tom and his family to return, I couldn't tolerate the situation any longer and decided to take the bus back the next day. By then, I had become the neighborhood's sympathetic figure, thanks to my convincing story and Lily's local connections. After expressing my gratitude to Lily and her family, I set out to find a detective to investigate Tom. When I turned my cell phone back on at home, I found several voicemail messages. None of them were particularly concerning, but one stood out. The card isn't working. What's going on? Make sure the house is clean. We're coming back tomorrow, so have dinner and baths ready for everyone. There wasn't a hint of apology in any of the messages. The lack of remorse and the abusive tone only made me smile, as it solidified my decision to end things with him. Even the voicemails seemed to serve as evidence for a potential divorce case. The next day, when Tom returned home, his first words were an insult. What the hell have you been telling the neighbors about us? Don't mess around. I had no intention of engaging seriously with Tom, so I decided to act clueless. What are you talking about? People in the neighborhood have been telling me how pitiful the wife is and how awful the family is. I haven't said anything though. Feigning ignorance, I let Tom retreat to his room where he isolated himself. For the next few days, we didn't exchange a word. Then, out of the blue, I received a call from my mother-in-law. Emma, you need to come here and apologize. What are you talking about? I replied, genuinely puzzled. The whole neighborhood is talking about how we're mistreating you. For the first time during our conversation, I couldn't help but smile. Isn't that the truth? What did you say? I'm just speaking the truth. My mother-in-law paused, clearly taken aback. I seized the moment to add, "By the way, is Bill working late again today?" He said he was. Why do you ask? I just hope it's really overtime. It would be quite a mess if both father and son had wandering hearts. What are you implying? That's all I have to say. Goodbye. I had heard from Lily that my father-in-law was having an affair. She'd seen him arm in arm with an unknown woman disappearing into the crowded streets in broad daylight while she was out shopping. It turned out other neighbors had observed similar scenes. As for Tom, he was also cheating. I collected evidence of his infidelity and consulted a lawyer. Once the divorce proceedings were underway, and I was preparing to leave the house, Tom called me after returning from work. "Hey, my stuff is gone. What's going on?" "You'll receive a certified letter soon. Check it then." "I can't believe I married someone like you." It seemed Tom was finally catching on. "Emma, you must be misunderstanding something." "I only love you," Tom said, his panic palpable. It was no wonder he was anxious. Losing my income would make his life much harder, especially since he had claimed to be sending $400 a month to his parents, which turned out to be a lie. It was actually child support payments. It was time to confront him. "What's this about loving me? You've been lying to me. How did you end up cheating with another woman too? How could you betray me like this?" "It's not like that, Emma," Tom protested, using the classic cheater's excuse. "How pathetic. And to think he went on a trip under the pretense of meeting his child, leaving me behind at my parents' house while secretly arranging to meet his child and the child's mother. That was the real purpose of Tom's trip. Discovering this truth was shocking but only reinforced my decision to divorce. Initially, I was drawn to Tom's outgoing personality, which seemed to balance my introverted nature. I convinced myself I could overlook a few affairs out of fear of being alone after the divorce, but this was a step too far. I finally faced the reality of his disrespect. "Of course I'm divorcing you. From now on, you'll have to manage on your own income to pay child support for your secret child." It turned out Tom's affair partner was a waitress at a cafe we often visited. The thought of them laughing together while I was there too makes my blood boil. I demanded reimbursement for the numerous charges he had racked up on my credit card during the affair. Tom had squandered a significant amount of money on his infidelity using my card. News of the affair spread at his workplace, leading to his resignation due to the disapproving stares from colleagues. He ended up moving back in with his parents and took on a part-time job. The affair also caused a rift within my in-law's family, souring relations and leading to my brother-in-law and his wife severing ties with us. Although I had never gotten along well with them, Emily reached out with an apology after the divorce. It turned out we had simply been incompatible, and she was actually quite normal. She had been reluctantly dragged along on that trip as well. I was relieved to hear that her baby was born healthy. Tom's parents ended up selling their home and moving into an apartment. With the proceeds, Tom paid off my credit card in full. My mother-in-law, who had never worked before, took on a part-time job but struggled due to her personality. My father-in-law became even more elusive with his whereabouts unknown. Tom faced difficulties finding stable employment. The rural network proved surprisingly extensive, and all this information came from the people living near Tom's parents' new home. I learned about it when I visited Lily to thank her once more after my life had settled down following the divorce. During the visit, I discovered that Tom's family had moved. Lily also mentioned something unexpected. "My son would like to have a proper conversation with you. Emma, would you be interested in contacting him?" Her son seemed like a calm and kind person, though I was initially hesitant. I decided to take a chance, thinking it might be fate. After reaching out, we connected well and started a long-distance relationship, which blossomed into marriage 2 years later. I've grown to love him deeply and trust him completely. Lily has become my mother-in-law, and 2 years later, we welcomed a daughter. Our family of 3 is happy, and my new in-laws are affectionate toward our daughter and treat me with kindness. It's been a surprising turn of events, but perhaps it was meant to be. The challenges I face have made me stronger, and I'm grateful for this unexpected but wonderful outcome.